Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I'm just sitting here drinking my morning coffee. Real coffee, a real cup. Where's Fake Stick Investigator? He disappeared on us again. I wonder where he went. All right, let's talk about this. And people need to understand, me being outspoken about carnivore is nothing to do with an ideology. Even though I've chosen to go over plant-based, I don't have an ideology towards that, and people need to grasp that. I'm purely doing it for health purposes, and I really believe that scientific evidence supports that, just like I think it completely rejects carnivore. And we do need to be clear there. Anyone who has spent 15 minutes reading research on vegetables from any country in the world should flat out look at the carnivore thing and realize it is completely anti-scientific. 100%. It's insane. But one of the things that shows that it is truly an ideology, that it is a religion, that is what it's turned to. It's like a dogmatic religion that involves government lies and conspiracy required to give you bad science all over the world. You know, again, it's an ideology of conspiracy theorists for the most part. And I'm not saying all conspiracy theories are even wrong. Okay, I'm not even making that statement. What I'm saying is that it requires an enormous global conspiracy for it to have any possibility of being true. And that's what people forget. But the thing that shows you how much of an ideology it is honey. Okay, because they've said, let's just remove all logic, all reason, and our logic is they take the same approach ideological vegans take. Instead of being scientific, because that's what I tell people, the ideology is what hurts vegans' health. Because plant-based is perfectly healthy. It can be amazingly healthy if you approach everything scientifically and looking at the real nutrition and not, well, plants good, animals bad. Okay, there's your problem. So they reverse it in the same way. Okay, and historically, what is the one thing the low carb and keto crowd got right? Because carnivore is an extension of a more extreme version of keto. What is the one thing that we always give them credit for getting right? Sorry, I got a little coffee on my lip there. You can see it in the camera bothering me. Okay, the one thing they get right, refined sugars. Okay, they do get that right. But the point that I would always make to those people, okay, since you know refined sugars, particularly in excess, are bad, this is, again, that is a scientific position. So the flexible dieters actually take an unscientific position there because the data on refined sugars is pretty damning. But they get that part right. But I would say instead of doing keto, why don't you just not eat any refined sugars? There's your solution. Okay? It's very, very simple because all their data against carbohydrates is always against the refined sugars anyways. So at least the carnivores, that's the one thing they got right. And notice I said refined sugars, refined fructose. Because in nature, humans handle fructose just fine. People say, well, fructose is so bad, then how come it's in nature and we didn't have these problems? And it's not even from selectively bred crops. You can eat huge amounts of fructose, even in agricultural crops, without issues. Why? The fiber, the matrix of the food. Okay? Fiber is one of the biggest protectors we have against problems from fructose. It is like our one of our biggest defense mechanisms. Why? Because it allows slower digestion. So it's in a matrix of whole food, particularly with fiber and other stuff around it. The digestion process is slower. The absorption is slower. Okay, fructose that gets absorbed in the upper intestine is what we're concerned with. If it makes it to the lower intestine, which most of your fruit does, assuming the fiber's there and a healthy gut flora is there, your gut flora will convert a very big chunk of it into glucose. Glucose is never the problem, unless you're a diabetic, but you're already sick. And we've covered this a lot. Non-diabetics, glucose is your preferred fuel source. It is healthy to burn it as a primary calorie all the time. Again, data is overwhelming for that. Converts to glucose, problem solved. Once it gets into the bloodstream as fructose, though, that's when a whole cascade of things happen. And we still have defense mechanisms against that. Be aware. Your body can still handle a certain amount of that. It's when it's in excess. So we come back over, what are they doing? They created a refined sugar that they're consuming because it's animal made by bees. It's good again. Okay? And I'm not saying there are not health benefits to honey. There's some antioxidants in it, sure. The problem is that as far as the fructose absorption in, it is a refined fructose. It is no different from table sugar or high fructose corn syrup in that regard, which, by the way, if you differentiate between those two, you're failing some biology and chemistry here. The difference is rather insignificant in terms of your health. Very, very, very small difference. It's literally one little tiny drop of extra sucrose would bridge the gap between table sugar and high fructose corn syrup in terms of problems. It's only a couple percent's difference. And if you just eat a drop more, you reach that couple percent. But that's what honey is. It's a refined fructose. Here's the downside. They're now eating a fiber-free diet. So the one protective mechanism, our primary protective mechanism against dietary fructose that allows it to still stay healthy for us, they've completely removed from their diet, and then they're adding a refined fructose in. Keeping in mind, what is it that makes the American diet so problematic? Large amounts of fat, with a huge percentage of it being saturated fat plus refined fructose added to it. That is really why we're fat and sick and dying in America. That is why. That combination. So what then when the carnivores start throwing honey in, what did they just do? They just replicated, because their diet's extremely high in fat and saturated fat, and we know that's a problem. So then they throw refined fructose with no fiber into the matrix. They might as well just be eating the standard American diet. It would taste better. Because from a health perspective, that is now what you're eating again. Nutritionally. But because they're an ideology, it falls in line with their ideology. Because keep in mind, their ideology, animal good, plant bad, plant government conspiracy theory to depopulate us. Agriculture is just trying to weed out meat, as if agriculture doesn't make money feeding the animals. Okay, keep in mind there's bias the other direction. It's not, it doesn't work in the direction they think it does. It's actually reversed in terms of bias, as far as financial bias in any research. Okay, because keeping in mind, growing animals for food requires an enormous agricultural output. The people growing crops are not losing money because you're eating beef. All right? They're not. They're making money. So, back over to that point. It's their ideology. And it shows how insane their ideology is, that they just abandon basic reason and all these other nutrition principles because, just like the ideological vegans often do, one food source always good, the other always bad. It's ludicrous. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.